You know, I finally delivered one of the paintings that I made last year in Kelowna that now belongs to another fellow aircraft mechanic who lost his brother during COVID. I don't know the exact details. I'm sure that, I hope that he and we have an art talk soon enough about it. Let's just put my foot on the stool here. And, again, there's been a lot of thinking a lot about Canadian identity and propaganda and the cultural movements of our time, like of my life, right? And how disturbing the evil is, and hence why I continue to do these videos. This is not the end for me. This project will go as long as I wish to do it, and none of you, until my death, can stop me from doing that because I'm still fighting it and I'll fight for it every day. And what is it? And it is fortitude, right? Is the strength of character, it's the determination of will and willpower. Because there's people out there that do absolutely amazing things with absolutely nothing. They start with nothing but the wrist on their the watch on their wrist and the wind at their back, because that's the family mythos for my father's family, right? That his father and his brother came from the East Coast, from Nova Scotia, yeah, and on a train to Toronto with nothing but a couple $100, or maybe even less than that, in their pocket and a gold watch. Because these family myths, right? These larger than life tales and tall tales like Paul Bunyan or and Blue the Ox or Drunken Ira Hayes. These things are important to the fabric of our culture, and in some ways, yes, it's interpreted in itself as a propaganda, but we all need something to get behind. We all need something to believe in, right? Something that's more altruistic, right? But the path to hell is paved with good intentions, and no matter what you do, stupid people will corrupt everything that you built, right? That's another engineer's dilemma, right? It's if you build a system or you create something that even stupid people will use, only stupid people will use it because of delayed gratification and rewards. This is the psychology that video game developers use in order to make things entertaining, because that's a proponent of a decent video game, right? Is that there has to be some sort of reward in it for all the time spent. There has to be a perceived accomplishment or an achievement, right? But we live in an age where there's so many achievements, that especially again concerning video games, that you're just burnt out after a while. People of the older generations, they would spend their entire lives to even have a house. And I'm very very pissed off by the purposeful erasure of Canadian history and Canadian identity for the purpose of someone else that is not from here, right? Uh, Again, so many of us are natives or have native blood in us because of the métier and our Canadian history with Upper and Lower Canada and Confederation is not just some some piece of poison that people play up with the residential school system. There's two sides to every story, right? We shouldn't be concentrating on the negatives as much as it hurts. Right? And yes, history is uncomfortable, but human history, is about violence and conflict and the reconciliation of such, as is the river, right? Because rivers can be violent and they can be calm, they can be rapid, and they can be slow. It all depends on how you negotiate it with that canoe of life. And, trying to approach this from a more mature standpoint, like, I fucking hate money. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I hate what it does to people. I see how it corrupts the altruistic. I can't stand how, bankers have so much power over our existence. All wars are bankers' wars. Let's be clear about that. I can't stand the concentration of power in the hands of so few. When I look at them and I'm like, you're just past the point of saving now. That's the way I look at it. From the having been at the very bottom of my field, and then built myself from the ground up to the very top with very little help. I've driven around the world, crossing coast to coast across Canada. I got nothing to prove to anybody anymore. And so there's many other people out there that are high achievers and, have always been out to do something grand for the rest of humanity that is not financially motivated. And it's a wonder they're killing themselves. It's no wonder. What were you expecting, right? I don't like the manipulation by psychopathic and stupid people for the purpose of their existence and for their entertainment. So I'd rather start a rebellion in the hearts and minds of people across the world so that we come back to a semblance of reason instead of treason against our very being as humans and humanity. I ain't got time for this fucking bullshit anymore. I would rather remove myself from the gene pool and punish the rest of humanity for its stupidity and its lack of gratitude than I would to be with a stupid woman who doesn't appreciate me for my very existence and what I represent. That's the end of it. And it was always like this. But we bow and we accept and we placate and, we resign to opposition. And there's also that, the principle, okay, if you want, don't interrupt the enemy when they're making a mistake. So it's a little bit more passive. Or, give them enough rope to hang themselves. Because you just can't believe that they want to do that. Whatever it is that they want to do. But, because they're, too much pride and too much individuality, like too much liberty, leads to slavery. Again, another consistent theme I'm going to put up with this history of propaganda because, ambition, a wise man said, is like riding a unicycle on a tightrope over a valley of razor blades. I ain't got time for fucking bullshit. Especially as an artist and as a man and as a Canadian. Because I've had to cross the world just to make a fucking living. And people who don't do that will never understand the sacrifices involved that I've had to suffer. The isolation I've had to suffer. And the consequences upon myself my family, and my social group. Because I'm always leaving. I'm never anywhere for far too long to put down roots. And I fucking hate it. It's just so insufferable. Because that is what it is to be a slave. And to free oneself from the bonds, the chains. What is it to buy your own freedom? What is it to fight back? To stand up for yourself or for someone else? Because, I'm tired. I'm fucking tired of this shit. If I'm going to go, semi-Bruce nuclear on this video. Because when you've been abused or you've been browbeaten for most of your life, you don't know what a good thing is when it comes to you because you don't think you deserve it. Right? I'm not going to sit here and bathe in my self-loathing. I'm not going to burn myself with the fire of anger and poison my very being just to accept the way of life that someone else wants to give to me, or that someone else thinks is best for me. It's only by, cooperation and collaboration that competition is possible. That's another idiom, right? Competition is implicit, or vice versa. No, collaboration is implicit to competition. Everybody has to agree to the same rules. Because otherwise, white people are very smart, us of Northern European descent, right? And as I said in another video, I'm an ethnic supremacist. I'm going to look out for my family and my lineage, and I hope for you to do the same, because that's our very nature, as we should. We should stop accepting and stop, rolling over and taking the bullshit of other people, because there's no point in it. Because then there's no identity. It's all one big blob, gray, brown blob of a human mess, a dumpster fire of ambition and possibilities for the sake of change. What's the point in traveling around the world? And what's the point in having all the control and all the money in the world if you're the only one that has it? It's very lonely at the top, right? And once you get to the top of the mountain, you got to come back down again. You got to come back down to earth. Because you can't stay there. It's far too exposed. And this is why I hate money. This is why I have such contempt for power. This is why I have such loathing for manipulation. And I don't like doing it to other people. I really don't. I want to try and treat other people with, respect and dignity. Right? Because a lot of people don't understand what those principles and what those words actually mean. Right? To be able to walk away from something and have the self-respect and not get abused because someone thinks they know better than you do. And I don't say these things out of pride. I say these things out of coming back from abuse, because I wanted to please someone else, because I wanted to be valued. My father, God bless him, wanted me to be a hockey player, as is the dream of many Canadian fathers. They put me through ball hockey and soccer and rookie ball. But I didn't care for these things because it's just not me, man. You're looking at them. This is me. Right? The artist and the engineer. One of the rarest kinds of people in all of fucking history. I recognize my importance, not out of cockiness. Because people have said that to me before. My attitude is cocky. Or that I'm a young little shit and I don't know what I'm talking about. Or that I've been dismissed, or I've been, maligned, put off to the side. Because of my intelligence. But I will not suffer fools. I will not. Again, I would rather spend the rest of my life under a bridge with just a wooden bowl, surrounded by dogs, and watch the river go by for the rest of my existence than be surrounded by people that don't appreciate me. And then people that don't value my life. Because it's not about the money anymore. And it never was about the money. The money was just the attraction. It was the compensation for the job, right? Some people think that you can just pay people off. You can buy them, right? If you buy the art, you can buy a piece of the artist. Or you can buy the artists themselves. But you can't. You can't buy me. I am not to be bought and sold. And neither is other people. So I would rather break the chains of my enslavement than continue to be treated like shit. This is not directed at KF or de Havilland. Because, I've worked for many people across the country. Many people, many different corporations. And as I said before in another video, it's not the people that don't give a shit. It's the corporation that doesn't give a shit. But there's just some people within the organizations that, faults happen because of incompetence and because of lack of foresight and because of ego, right? And arrogance and a misallocation of power, a misbalance. So I'd rather take the piss out of these people and burn them for the idiots that they are than be in service to them. This is why people leave organizations. This is why people leave militaries. Is because, something is put ahead than the tradition and of the altruism and of the shared effort towards a goal. More about individual identities than a collective existence. There's more than one way to make a living. But life is worth living. And I don't need money for that.